Thank you very much to be here. It's a pleasure for me to have this opportunity. And I want to speak about this work that is something in process now. But it starts in 2013, just to understand which kind in our region, because I'm from Udine, so in Friuli, Venezia Giulia region, our region, wine SMEs, which kind of opportunity they have now in the worldwide market, and which are now for them the determinants of export performance that I try to measure in a particular approach that I will see you now. Right? Okay. Okay, my paper that is going to be finished in the next month, because I try to make an introduction about lots of topics that we know, and just to show you some preliminary results with the modelistic approach that I try to implement in this case of data set. We know that the problem of internationalizations for SMEs in wine sector comes especially if they are involved in this kind of dynamics that we know that Italy is one of the best players in the worldwide production, and even if the global consumption is, is going to decrease just a little bit, because it's a problem that every year is statistically detected. And in this scenario, we know that Italian medium-sized wine firms has to fight also not only with the all new wine producers, but also in the lots of them inside our internal domestic market. Because, especially for our region, there are lots of them that are oriented to produce Pinot Grigio, because more than one quarter of our production in our region is Pinot Grigio. But also more of them produce local wines, so autochthones, and try to settle it and sell it all around the world with a particular strategy that is not so clear in the SME of our region. And we know that, especially for our region, you know that the average size of a wine farm in our region is about 3 hectares, and it's the biggest one in the average of the old Italy, because the average size in Italy is about 1 hectare and 6. So very, very narrow situation, narrow power about the opportunity to be powerful in this kind of statistic that is provided every year from our. So the starting point is small and medium-sized wine enterprises, such an Italian wine firms, strive to retain position of their products in a global market. But how they reach the global market? In different way. But it depends also by the font size dimension, the entrepreneur characteristics, so which kind of proactivity has the wine farmer about the opportunity that the market can give to his products, and about some information about risk perception. So this kind of characteristic of entrepreneur can be able to perceive the risk of the characteristic of the international markets. And I try to analyze this kind of context to measure the export performance of these wine firms, SME wine firms, with a structural equation model that is a particular methodology of that can evaluate and also try to understand which kind of weight the relations between the constructs. So in the first time there is a questionnaire design to collect as much as possible information, because it's not so easy to go to every wine producer and have back the topic information that we need to measure, especially the export performance. But I try. And the sampling that oh my God, it was a pity for me to go all around the hills of our region with my motorbike to visit them and to collect the data with a questionnaire and a data collection. The questionnaire was divided into 5 sections. First section, investigated firm size, with typical indicators. The second section proposed a measure of export performance in terms of sales and number of explored countries. The third and the fifth section was quite interesting with approach, with a literature review about the characteristics of the entrepreneurs and their risk perception in front of several economic and behavioral scenarios that can find whenever they move outside their region and try to explore the market. For firm size, we decided to use 3 indicators, those 3 variables, years in which the company was found, annual income, and production expressed in hectoliters. The export performance were measured in years of export, number of countries explored, export sales, and quantity of liters sold in export transaction. To measure the characteristics of an entrepreneur, I use a 7-point Likert scale, try to investigate in which way, in which intensity the entrepreneur was able to feel opportunities in foreign markets, about his sensations about. Intuitions about the intuition new strategy, so the proactivity that the entrepreneur can have when he tries to create a new challenge for new opportunities in market, and if he was able to adopt new strategies by his own, not only with a consultant, and if he implemented innovation in production just because he felt some signals for the market, not only because a consultant told him to do something. The risk perception was expressed and measured in 7-point Likert scale, try to investigate the risk perception of foreign markets, the overall aspects. In foreign market transaction, because they are very aware about that sometimes the transaction has not a good final situation because the importer doesn't pay every time, so they are very not so self-confident about the opportunity to go outside their country because they are very small, and the sample description will show you how much small they are. The risk perception of sector situation in overall sector. The sample was about the survey was conducted in Friuli-Venezia Giulia region, that I think that all of you know about our region, that is placed very close to this region that hosts the Congress, and collected face-to-face 81 questionnaire between June and August 2013. These 81 firms were settled in Collio region, so it's district that has also DOC and DOCG, and the Collio Orientale Friuli and Collio is maybe the most famous one district DOC present in our region, and Collio Orientale Friuli, that each of them are well known, very famous for white wines, especially for Pinot Grigio, that you know that is one of the main products of our region, but not only, because mostly of them also are involved in production of local wines, autochthon wines. So it's a problem to be able to place them in the market. This one found 65% of them has an income about 500,000 and 700,000 euros. 55% produce less than 500 hectoliters, and 60% of them produce about, in the average, between 30,000 and 50,000 bottles. Starting from this premise, I decide to evaluate the relations between those constructs. So firm size and firm characteristic expressed with those indicators, and characteristic of the wine farmer, and also the availability to perceive the risk that the market gives every day to the wine producer. How much the firm side respect to the characteristics of the entrepreneur can affect the export performance, and if there is a mediation rule of risk perception that can smoothly measure in the less way the intensity of the entrepreneur characteristic that can influence the export performance. How was done it? Through a model with the structural equation model that was specified with the Lisler class models, and that can permit the estimation of measurement model from the construct defined, and the structural model, the overall model that discloses the relationship between constructs before mentioned. The output of the model was this. So the quantity of the total produced for in every farm was the variable that was able to explain more the firm size, like the result that I was expecting for. And was quite interesting about the intuition and the innovation, the capacity, the opportunity to implement innovation inside the wine farm was an aspect very, very important to describe the entrepreneur characteristics. For his perception, the one that was more able to explain that concept was the fear about the opportunity of the international markets, because they're not able to have all the information. It's something about also the problem of asymmetry information about the markets whenever they want to explore on their own outside. The export performance was expressed more by the amount of liters. So all the fit indexes were allowed me to try to give some preliminary results about the strong effect that firm size express to explain and to affect the export performance. It's quite something that we're quite ready to see also, even if this sample was so narrow. And so firm size, this model can support that firm size can affect more than the other indicators the export performance for these small, medium enterprises in wine sector in our region. So even if the important factor for determining export performance as a whole are those pertaining firm size, these findings lend us to support that this sample of wine farm perform better when the firm size is mainly defined by hectoliters that can produce, because maybe that all the information that they have has to be regarding the volume that they can sell with one transaction, for example, in the target market. And so this reflects that Italy is a top exporter in volume, but not in volume, but not in value. So because they are concentrated to produce as much as possible to be performant, to be a good performer in the market that they are want to reach. And finally, the study of the linkages between firm size, different kind of dimension then, entrepreneur characteristics, and the risk perception about the information that they have about the market and export performance give the opportunity to analyze the determinant factor that can allow maybe wine SMEs to perform on the global market in the right way. Thank you for your attention.